Morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are from. This is Siva Devaki, the co-CEO and the founder of MassMailer. Thank you so much for joining the webinar today. So today I'm going to talk about the very important 11 email events and the email lifecycle in MassMailer. So it's always a question by a lot of our customers and prospects on what are the events that we support and what do they mean. So I thought maybe it is best to actually just, schedule a webinar and discuss more about it in depth. So in MassMailer, there are two types of events that we capture. If I segregate them into these two, the first one is called delivery events, and the second one is called the engagement events. So the name itself kind of makes you understand what a delivery event means and what engagement event means. So if you want to correlate this with the mail that we receive from the postal department, you can understand, or you can kind of map these events to what happens when a mail is sent. Similarly, what happens when an email is sent, right? Let's try to take a look at it and dig into this deeper. So delivery events, we can see that there are 5 of them: processed, dropped, delivered. I'm gonna mute everyone if you don't mind. And please feel free to enter any questions that you have in the chat window, and I'll pick up all those questions at the end of the webinar. And I'm also going to unmute at that time so you can speak up if needed. All right, once again, so the delivery event, we have processed, dropped, delivered, deferred, and bound. We're going to take a look at individual events, but if you are trying to correlate this with a postal mail, so when you send out a mail to someone else, what happens in the post office? It gets processed, and if the address is wrong, it may get dropped, or maybe if the postal, the weight is more, but you put the less stamps and it gets dropped. There are several reasons why it may get dropped, or maybe they have some sort of a notification that the receiver is not going to receive the email or something on those lines. It may get dropped. And the delivered meaning, the actual mail is delivered because there's no issue and the recipient is receiving it, right? And deferred meaning, let's say you're sending out a registered mail, it may get deferred, meaning if you're not there at the house to sign and receive the mail, the postman may come back again and try to deliver it. They may try it a couple of times, so they're kind of deferring it till they find you. And if they do not find you in those stipulated time, it could be 3 attempts or 4 attempts, whatever it may be. It may just eventually they may just drop it, meaning the postal mail will just go back, kind of bouncing, right? The mail get bounced, it is sent back. So basically, that you can try to correlate this delivery events with the postal mail. And similarly, engagement events, you receive a mail and you want to open it and you want to read it. Maybe you're taking an action once you read it because you need to respond back. Maybe you trashed it because it's not required for you. Those kind of things may happen once you receive a postal mail. And similarly, in the internet world, when you receive an email, you may open it and read it and click on some link. Maybe you don't like it because you never subscribe to it, so you may want to unsubscribe. Maybe you feel that the person who is sending is spamming it. So you want to flag it as a spam report. And similarly, if there are more classifications of the subscription groups or email preferences, you may want to send it. You may want to kind of unsubscribe from certain groups. So, several types of engagements that you kind of do when you receive an email. So that's why I kind of segregated between these two, the delivery events and the engagement events. We'll take a look at each one of them and what it means. So processed. So this event, it gets fired when SendGrid receives an individual message and prepares it to be delivered. I'm writing SendGrid just to make you understand that we use SendGrid as an email platform behind the scenes. So we want to kind of be very transparent on what we do. So processed event gets fired whenever the SendGrid platform, the email platform, receives it from MassMailer, and then it prepares it to be delivered. That's when this event gets fired, and we in MassMailer we capture this event and then we store that back into Salesforce. Okay. Drop. There could be many reasons why like the email gets dropped. Maybe this particular email address, the recipient previously unsubscribed from your email. Maybe previously it was bounced and you're still trying to send it. Previously maybe reported as spam, and then you're still trying to send it and it gets dropped. So it could be several reasons. And the third event, that is deferred. Again, if you're trying to correlate this with the postal mail, so when you're sending out an email, it gets rejected continuously for various reasons. It could be because the server is down, right? And maybe the quota, the mailbox is got over quota. Could be few reasons, and that's the reason why the email gets deferred. And SendGrid tries to resend this email up to 72 hours. They don't say how many times. It is basically 72 hours. They will try, and then they will change the status. Meanwhile, in those 72 hours, the deferred event is kind of temporary event. After that, it may just bounce, but they may call that as a soft bounce. It may not be a hard bounce because the email is still valid. Now, if you look at the bounce events, there are two bounce events here. One is called hard bounce, meaning the email cannot be delivered permanently because the email is invalid. That could be, one of the strong reasons why the hard bounce can happen. It could be the domain itself is invalid, or maybe there is no recipient email server. It can just say, hey, it's hard bouncing. So this is one of the main reasons why you would see the hard bounce, because the email is invalid. So there could be a few other reasons though. And the second type of bounce event is called soft bounce. The email is valid, but the server is rejecting perhaps due to over quota, of an example. Again, this is just an example. There could be other reasons why the email is bouncing, but it is called soft bounce. Okay? And now finally, the delivered event, meaning the email has been accepted by the receiving server, meaning there's no issue. You send an email, the recipient server gets it. That's when we capture this as a delivered event. But remember, delivered does not mean that it is going to the inbox. It may even go to the spam folder. That is a different concept altogether. But delivered meaning the recipient server, at least they have received it. So then now let's take a look at the engagement events. This is quite easy. So when the email gets delivered, meaning the recipient actually received it, the server received it, and these are the various actions the recipient can take. One of them could be opening. The recipient opens the email, and he or she reads it, and this event gets fired. And the second one is click. So if there are any clicks in the email, we do capture that click event, provided you enable click tracking. That's important. So if you enable click tracking in MassMailer, then we'll be able to track this click event. Unsubscribe. So basically, there are two types of unsubscribe events. One is called unsubscribe, meaning the recipient would want to unsubscribe from all of your emails. And the second type of event is called group unsubscribe. When the recipient unsubscribes from a specific email preference group or unsubscribe group, that is when this event gets fired. So let's say, for example, you may want to define certain groups or unsubscribe groups in MassMailer for your own company, such as newsletter, product report, marketing communication, donor communication, so on and so forth. You can define whatever the unsubscribe groups that may be relevant for your company in MassMailer setup, and those are the groups that would be displayed to the user, and the user may want to unsubscribe from one or more of those groups. That is when this group unsubscribe event gets fired. I've actually talked about this subscription groups in another webinar already. You can find that in our YouTube channel if you are interested. And the last event called spam report. So basically, if the recipient feels that you're sending a spam email, they may complain to the ISP meaning the internet service provider, such as the big companies such as Google and Yahoo and AOL kind of ISPs. So they basically respond to the complaint given by the recipient, and that event or that complaint is sent back to SendGrid, and SendGrid, of course, passes on to MassMailer, and we store that event as a spam report. So that is called as a spam report event. Okay, these are all like various engagement events that you would see in MassMailer. Some of them you may or may not be able to see just because of the functionality that we developed. But otherwise, these are the 11 events that we capture in MassMailer. Now, very interesting. Let's take a look at the sequence here. I tried my level best to come up with a diagram here so that it is actually much clearer. If you look at it on the very top, the event says processed. So basically, that is where everything starts. The SendGrid receives the email from MassMailer, and it is preparing to deliver the email, and the actual email event is called processed. So before that, what happens? We don't capture any other events before that. What happens? Meaning, if the email is put it in the, SendGrid has put the email in the queue, there's no event that gets fired. You just assume that if you don't receive the processed event, it is still in the queue. It is getting ready, but it's still not ready, right? It's just in the queue. So from processed, there are 4 types of events, or maybe the next immediate event could be dropped, meaning previously this particular email was unsubscribed, or maybe it was flagged as a spam report, or maybe it was bounced, but you still tried to send it and then it got dropped. As I said, we do capture rather any such events are considered as a suppression list events in MassMailer. We automatically suppress those suppressed emails. So most likely you will not be able to see this dropped event. But again, I just want to kind of highlight that to you, that you may be able to see the dropped event, provided you kind of messed up with some data and then went and deleted that in the suppression list and still try to send the email, it may get dropped. Things of the nature. So I want to kind of highlight that why you may get this dropped event. Uh, Deferred, we talked about it. If the recipient server is for some reason it's not ready to receive it because of over quota, or maybe the server is down, various reasons as a network failure, whatever the reason could be, and the deferred event gets fired, it retries 72 hours, up to 72 hours, how many hour times it may be, depending on the queue size and everything. Depending on the processing time, whatnot, it'll keep on trying until it delivers up to 72 hours. So that's when you get this deferred event. Or it could be delivered, meaning once the email gets processed, if there's no problem, it may just get delivered. So that could be, the immediate event after processed. And the fourth option would be the bounce, meaning the hard bounce. So from processed, it may just straight away bounce the email just because it could not be delivered, and it becomes a hard bounce event for you, right? So we captured that as a bounce event. So there are not really getting into too many details here because it may confuse you, but just assume that it's a hard bounce and we track that as a bounce event. You'll be able to see with two fields. One field it says it's bounce, and the second field it actually lets you know whether it is a soft bounce or a hard bounce. It's a formula field that we have. So assume that it's a bounce event. You will see the subtype as a hard bounce event. Now from deferred, it can, like as I said, deferred meaning it is trying to retry. Eventually, it may get delivered in the 72 hours, or it may just it may get bounced. But in this scenario, we are going to call it a soft bounce. So it may just bounce back, and then finally we capture that as a soft bounce. It's not a hard bounce. Okay. Now looking at the engagement events from delivered, what can happen? So once the email gets delivered, typically you can see two things may happen. The user may just open, or it may not even go to the open event. I mean, I didn't put that box here because it's not an event that gets fired, but assume that you received an email, you did not even open it, you may straight away put it into trash. So there's no event that gets fired after delivered event. That's why I didn't put it. Otherwise, you can assume that it may get opened, or it may not even get opened, right? So if it gets opened, then what could happen? So maybe you have certain links in the email and somebody clicked on it. So the click event may get fired. Or if there is an unsubscribe link or group unsubscribe link, you may be able to see the event unsubscribe event getting fired, or group unsubscribe event getting fired, or maybe somebody actually wanted to resubscribe to the groups. It may be like a group resubscribe event that gets fired. And then finally, the recipient may want to flag your email as a spammy email, and they complained it as a spam. Then we get the spam report event from open. So the spam report event can happen straight away after delivered as well, because the recipient did not even open. Nowadays, the email clients are such that they would give the spam button right on the email client panel, where you just select an email and then complain it as a spam without even opening it. So that's the reason why I put on the top, when with the delivered can go to open event or stay to the spam report event. So that's kind of the sequence or the life cycle of the email that gets processed within MassMailer. And you would see certain, these are all the events that you would see when you actually send out emails. Again, I'm not sure if you are familiar with MassMailer, but we categorize these events as suppression list, and then we auto suppress these events in MassMailer. So the first one is hard bounce. Second one is unsubscribe. Third one is group unsubscribe, and the fourth one is spam report. So these are the events that are considered as suppression list event, and we capture them in MassMailer, and we auto suppress any emails sent to those email addresses. You can notice that there is soft bounce is not included in the suppressed events list because soft bounce meaning you can still deliver the email to that email. There's no problem. So it's not suppressed. Okay. If you're not familiar with MassMailer, I think it may be worthwhile to kind of walk you through on various events that we actually capture. So I don't mind just quickly going through the outreach wizard, sending an email. That way you actually know how the email gets sent. I'm not going to get into much details on various options here. Just assume that you're familiar with the outreach wizard, and you're selecting who you want to send email to. That's your target list. And then let's so you're sending email to this list of contacts, and then you're selecting an email template that is already designed by you. So I'm just going to go pick up one of the templates here. I would call this as April 30 demo email, something on those lines. And so we have a link there. So we're good. At least we get the link. And then go to the next step. Keep going. Sender options, I'll keep the way it is, all the default values. So here, I think maybe it is better if I highlight this. The email type, you would see non-transactional and transactional. So this is where the difference between the groups and like having a group email preferences link getting displayed in the email at the bottom of the email. So if you select any of these unsubscribed groups, those are predefined. Then we display the email preferences link at the bottom of the email automatically. So let's just go to it. And if you don't select anything here, if you just selected none, then we display just the unsubscribe link at the bottom of the email. So I'm not going to suppress the unsubscribes. So let's just keep the way it is. And then we go to the next step, and then we submit the email. And then by clicking on the finish, we just send the email, right? So what we have done so far is just sending an email, and then you would be able to see that the email gets delivered, and then it is getting logged here. We already have I think one event is already captured, dropped event, then a processed event, right? And then if I open the email, it will also fire up the open event and click event, whatnot. We can take a look at all of them individually as much as we can so that you kind of correlate what we just talked. So now you can see that there are total 3 processed and then 3 delivered and 1 got dropped. So at least we have certain events that we can kind of take a look at it. So I'm gonna let's take a look at the dropped one. I want to kind of show you. So this is the dropped event for this particular contact. Okay. So if I go click on this, you can see the contact. This is a Salesforce contact and the events that are related to this particular contact. And all the events are also stored right here. And you can see that this particular event, it's saying it is dropped. And the reason is the group unsubscribed, meaning this particular recipient unsubscribed from the group. That's the reason why it got dropped, right? So it basically shows why it got dropped, the reason also get captured, and what time the actual event happened, and which contact, lead, or object it is related to. Even if it's a custom object, you can still relate this MassMailer email status object to the custom object, or rather it is auto related by us. And then I don't have any bounce events, unfortunately. Otherwise, I'm going to show it to you some of the bounce events. So otherwise, assume that if you had an invalid, we would have actually seen a bounce event by now. It was my mistake. I should have had one option like that. So now going back here, so you would see the other events such as processed and delivered. Let's take a look. So we have 3 delivered events there. Okay, so let's say this is delivered, this particular contact. And I'll open that email, and then we can capture the open events as well. Right. Okay, so this is the email subject. I'm going to copy this. So it's easy for me to search, and you can see that various events get captured, everything gets logged with the time, and this is the delivered event. So let's take a look at it. So this is the email that we received. I received multiple emails because I've sent it to many emails that get forwarded to me. So you can see that we got a link here. There's a click tracking URL that we embed automatically. If I click on that, it actually goes to the respective URL, and then it also captures the click event. And you can, if there are more links, I'm going to deliberately click on another link there, so you can actually see that there would be 2 click events with different URLs that get captured. We'll see all of that. So let's take a look at the email again. And you can see here, there is unsubscribe from this list and manage email preferences. I'm going to show you the manage email preferences to start with. So this is sent to who? This is sent to siva@massmailer.io. So I'm going to go click on this manage email preferences. So there are a few options, as you can see. This is opt out from all emails, or maybe opting out from a specific group. So let's say you want to opt out from newsletter. If you clicked on yes and then save preferences, this is supposed to fire off a group unsubscribe event. And similarly, if there is another contact who did not want to receive emails from you, they may just opt out from all emails, and they may click on this opt out, which means they are actually just trying to unsubscribe from all the emails, right? And similarly, if somebody wanted to resubscribe from your emails, it may just fire off when you actually select no and then save preferences. So I know I've actually done this for a different group. Let me actually just unsubscribe from the group, so we capture both of them and then save preferences. Okay, so I've done few clicks here. As you can see, kind of it's an engagement event. As you can see, the recipient received the email, and he would open it, and then he would click on few things or unsubscribe, or maybe you can also flag this as a spam. I know they got to be somewhere. I think it's sorry. I think maybe this one, report as spam. So if somebody clicked on this report as spam, then the spam report even gets fired. I'm not gonna show this, otherwise I'm gonna spoil the reputation of my domain. So assume that if somebody clicked on this report spam, then the spam report even gets fired. So these are various engagement events that can happen from the recipient that gets captured in the SendGrid platform, and then we capture it in MassMailer and store it back into Salesforce. Okay. Now let's go back here, and I'm going to refresh this outreach. So just to kind of highlight, this is an outreach object wherein which we capture all the campaign information and also the statistics information. So I'm going to go refresh this once again so that we may be able to see some of the events. Again, remember that there may be a delay, a little bit of a delay before we actually capture all the events. So now I see 2 click events. That's a good sign. And I also see 1 group unsubscribe event. And there's a unique click event. We can ignore that for now. So let's just take a look at the click event and also the group unsubscribe event. So the click event, you can see that there are 2 click events. If you remember, I clicked on the Google link and the LinkedIn link. It captures both of them as individual events, even though it belongs to the same contact. So if I open this particular contact here, you will see the events getting captured again under MassMailer email status object. And you'll find the series of events that have got captured right here. So we got a group unsubscribe event for the same, and then we have the clicked URL. So if you want me to click on this specific event record, I can do that so that you get to see the actual details, which is the same as before. Just that it may have different fields that get populated based on what type of an event it is. So this is a click event. So we have the clicked URL. So in the next release, the upcoming release, the clicked URL could be a very long clicked URL. It doesn't need to be a short one like this. So right now it's limited to 255, but in the next upcoming release, it could be a long text area. So it could be 35,000, I think, which should be more than enough for any clicked URL. So you can see the event and everything, right? And the next one, it is group unsubscribe. So we also showed the actual group. I know it is not on this page layout, unfortunately. Otherwise, we also capture what specific group this particular recipient is actually unsubscribed from. I think in the scenario, it was not necessarily product news or something is what we selected second time. Okay, so that's the reason why you see this event. And then let's see if I have any more events. Let's go back to the statistics page again. It's gonna go first. Yes. Okay, I got one unsubscribe event here. I'm gonna click on this, and then I got one resubscribe event as well. I'm gonna click on that so we can take a look at that. So this is unsubscribe event. So from this particular contact, even though it belongs to my email address. So unsubscribe meaning it is basically unsubscribe from all. So I'm going to show you the suppression list as well in a moment. So let's just take a look at this particular unsubscribe event. So it again belongs to this, and so they straight away unsubscribe event, right? And then this one is called group resubscribe. So if I go back here, so this particular person actually resubscribed from the group to the group so that we capture the resubscribe event. And then again, it gets captured right here. We do store the specific group that person is resubscribed from, even though it's not on the page layout that gets stored, so you can see that, right? And then we capture the other unsubscribe event, the group unsubscribe event as well. Okay? So everything I think got captured. So these are all the various engagements that we captured, right? Now, taking a look at the suppression list, so I'll open that window. Got too many windows out here. All right, so the suppression list is where we capture all the suppressions, such as bounces, hard bounces, spam reports, and unsubscribes. Group unsubscribe, so we can see one group unsubscribe event, and this is from product, and I'll open this and show it to you. And then we also have a bounce events. Other ones are bounce events. So as you can see, some of them are also captured as bounce events. So let's take a look at this. The group unsubscribe event, as you can see, it is related to this product group. So it gets captured as suppression list. So anything that is in the suppression list, basically does not, it basically suppresses the emails. Even though you're trying to send email again to this particular email address, it gets suppressed automatically. So that's a kind of a concept of the suppression list. And this is related to the respective contact as well. So if you go to this particular contact, you will see the suppression list is related to that particular contact so that you know what is the specific suppression type. So that's pretty much what I want to kind of show you today. And then finally, if you have any questions, I'm going to answer that. Let me just show my contact information here. So I'm going to see if anybody had any questions. So I don't see any questions coming up. I'm happy to unmute. If you have any questions, if you want to speak up, that's fine with me. Just wait for the questions in the chat window, or you can speak up. Okay, seems like there are no questions from anyone. So thank you so much for joining the webinar today. So here is, seems like this one. Do you have a dedicated client support service? I can talk about it maybe in our call that is going to come up shortly. So we do have the support, the product support, the regular product support. But if you are looking for additional support services, yes, we do have on-demand support service options. Or if you wanted some block of hours that you needed, that's also something that we can support as well. We can certainly look at the options that we have and discuss what may best suit your needs. Any more questions? Okay, all right. So once again, this is my contact information, the office number, cell phone number, my direct email address, also the website, massmailer.io. You can always send an email to hello@massmailer.io, and then any questions that you may have, we are happy to answer. Again, this is a weekly webinar. Feel free to join every Thursday at the same time. That's say 9 a.m. Pacific time. So we'll be posting the next week's topic sometime today itself. If you are in our email list, you will also receive an email with the next week's topic and also recording for this particular webinar as well. Once again, thank you so much for joining the webinar today, and I appreciate all your support, and have a good day and stay safe. Thank you. Bye-bye.